Everybody, so in this second video, I want to go over chapter 2 of my book, Taking No for an Answer, How to Respond When God Says No to Our Prayers. Now, chapter 2 goes over how there is unanswered prayer in the Bible. It simply lays the groundwork for saying, yes, unanswered prayer is a thing. It's not as if unanswered prayer doesn't exist. And we have to understand and know that, in a sense, unanswered prayer doesn't exist. In the sense that unanswered prayer is simply God telling us no. But in this chapter in the book, I go over 3 different examples. King David, the Apostle Paul, and Jesus. Now, for the sake of clarity and for the sake of time, I'm going to just go over the example of Jesus. So in the Garden of Gethsemane, as Jesus was awaiting his trial and his crucifixion in pure agony in the garden, he was praying to the Father. And in Matthew 26:39, he said, "Let this cup pass from me, if it be possible," to the Father. Now, what do we do with that? How do we respond to that as well? Because in the book, I make it very clear that I believe that Jesus was literally asking the Father for this not to happen. Now, we have to understand that Jesus was both truly 100% human, just like you and me, but he was also truly 100% divine, and still is. So something we have to make very clear is that the Father and the Son have always had the same will. They had the same will before Jesus came. They had the same will as Jesus was doing ministry on earth. And they now, in heaven, have the same will. So even though Jesus pleaded 3 times before the Father for the cup to pass from him, the Father said no to Jesus. This does not mean they have opposite wills. This does not mean they were in contradiction. This does not mean they were thinking different things. This simply comes down to, no matter how complex this is for our human ears, but it comes down to, in my opinion, Jesus having 2 natures. You see, Jesus, like I just said, was truly divine. He was also truly human, just like you and me. So in a very real sense, in his humanity, because he was experiencing this unbearable agony, he pled before the Father for this cup to pass. He was asking for a detour. He was asking for a different way. Now, to be sure, we know in Scripture that did not happen, and Jesus knew it was not going to happen. Because at the end of his prayer, he did say, "Lord, not my will, but yours be done." So Jesus knew a detour is not going to take place, but he felt that. And the Father said no. Now, part of why Jesus was in agony was because of what he was about to experience. We know, I hope we know, that Jesus was not merely about to experience physical death. Of course, he was about to experience the most excruciating death one could probably experience. But it wasn't mere death he was about to experience, but the full brunt of God's holy and righteous wrath for sinners like you and me. So he looked at the cup that was about to fall all over him, the cup of God's wrath, and he wanted to take a detour. But the Father said no. So as Christians, we must come away from this with believing this, that unanswered prayer happened to Jesus, the Son of God. No matter how complex, theologically speaking, that may sound, no matter how many discussions and debates we might have over the will of God and all of those things, we must remember that if it happened to Jesus, it's going to happen to us. And when it happens to us, how do we respond?